Hello, Stephan here with Liquidity with a video about indefinite articles in German in all four cases, of course, with nouns of all three genders that go along with it. Liquidity. If you're interested in how to decline in German, meaning how to apply different cases in German, you may also want to watch my videos on the definite articles in all four cases. I have one on the singular nouns and also one on plural nouns. All nouns in German have a grammatical gender, regardless of whether this gender coincides with the actual gender of the creature or the item, the object that it refers to. For this video, I'm going to use as examples dogs, cats, and horses simply because dogs are grammatically speaking masculine, cats are grammatically speaking feminine, and horses are grammatically speaking neutral in gender, grammatical gender. In German, we have four cases. There is the nominative, which is used when a noun is in the most basic form, when it is the subject of a sentence. The accusative case is applied when a noun is the direct object of a sentence, the direct recipient, the direct target, if you will, of the action of a sentence. The dative case is applied when a noun is the indirect object of a sentence. Then we also have the genitive case, which is really just a possessive case, a possessive signifier. Let's look at all three animals in their most basic form with an indefinite article. So how do I say in German a dog, a cat, a horse? In German, that would be ein Hund, eine Katze, ein Pferd. So let's plug these as the subject into a sentence. So let's say all of these three animals are eating something. In German, we have a specific word for animals eating. So if a person eats, it would be essen. If an animal eats, it's fressen. So we have ein Hund frisst, eine Katze frisst, ein Pferd frisst. Let's look at the accusative case when these animals now are actually the direct recipient of an action, when they are the direct object of a sentence. So I'm going to make myself, ich in German, the subject of the sentence, and let's just say I see these animals. I'm looking at them, I'm watching them. So in German I would say, ich sehe einen Hund. Ich sehe eine Katze. Ich sehe ein Pferd. So the only difference that you can see here is that the masculine indefinite article changes from ein to einen Hund. That's the only difference. So nominative and accusative are very similar. The only difference really that you usually see between those two cases is in the singular masculine. Let's plug these three animals into the dative case. Now the three animals are the beneficiary or the reason of an action that makes them the indirect object. So in English, I would say, I give a dog or a cat or a horse the ball. In German, this is what these sentences would look like. So we'd have, ich gebe einem Hund den Ball. We have ein turning to einem. Everything else stays the same. Den Ball, that's the accusative case. That's actually singular, masculine, definite article. If you want to know a little bit more about the definite article, check out my video on that topic. For the cat, we have, ich gebe einer Katze den Ball. Notice how the indefinite article changes from eine to einer. And with the horse, I have, ich gebe einem Pferd den Ball. So the same as with the masculine gender, we have ein turning into einem. So the M ending is really very typical for the dative case. And let's take a look at the genitive case, the possessive case. So if I have a possessive add-on description. So let's say that we're looking at the animal's toy, the ball, and we're talking about how the ball is actually the ball of one of these animals. So for the first one, I would say, das ist der Ball eines Hundes. That is the ball of a dog. Das ist der Ball einer Katze. That is the ball of a cat. Das ist der Ball eines Pferdes. That is the ball of a horse. So you can see how the endings of the indefinite articles change, but also for both the masculine and the neutral genders, we also have an ending for the nouns themselves as well. So we have eines Hundes, so we add an es to both the indefinite article, ein turns into eines, and Hund turns into Hundes. The same thing for the horse. Ein Pferd turns into eines Pferdes. So that's how the genitive case is being created. For the cat, this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the R ending very often is a masculine ending like der Hund, right? But in this case, for the genitive case, we have an ending of ER for the indefinite article einer Katze. With the masculine and neutral word endings for the genitive case, there are quite a few exceptions. The most common exception is if the E just gets dropped off, and there are rules that apply to that, but I think the best way to describe it is that it simply sounds better. For instance, if you said, das ist der Ball eines Mädchenes, it just doesn't sound right. In German, I would just say, das ist der Ball eines Mädchens. The other exception to the rule applies to some masculine nouns. For instance, the word for boy, Junge, in the genitive case changes to Jungen. Das ist der Ball eines Jungen. If you want to change a dog to my dog or your dog in German, there's nothing easier than that. All you have to do is add a D for dein, your, or an M for mein, my. So for instance, ich sehe ein Pferd, I see a horse. I could easily change that to ich sehe dein Pferd, I see your horse. Or ich sehe mein Pferd, I see my horse. Or to give another example, this time with the genitive case, das ist der Ball eines Hundes, that is the ball of a dog. I could easily change that to das ist der Ball meines Hundes, that is the ball of my dog. Das ist der Ball deines Hundes, that is the ball of your dog. Let's package all four cases into one sentence and use all three of our animals as examples here, plus the ball, their toy. Ein Hund bringt einer Katze den Ball eines Pferdes. A dog brings a cat, or to a cat, the ball of a horse. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Check out my other videos. I hope you enjoy them as well. Consider joining my channel, subscribing to my channel, and mach's gut. Take care. Tschüss. Bye. See you in the next video.